Hi, my name is Shubham and today I'm going to show you an implementation of AP system on the Amazon EC2. So for this setup, this is the overall setup that I have done on the Amazon EC2 system. Just a quick background. There will be a load balancer facing the internet publicly, and internally there would be a master and two slaves. So master and slaves can communicate to each other via private IPs, and only the public IPs are exposed of the load balancer to the internet. So here I show you all the setup of Amazon. So here are two instances. These are the slave instances. This is the jump box, and this is the master instance. The jump box would be used to SSH into the master and the slave instances. So first I'm going to show you the IP rules of the master and the slaves. uh, just before that, so I'm using internal port 8080 for all the internal communications, and for all the external communications the port would be 8081. So the master has this is the public IP, and this is the private IP of the master is 130 and the public is 138. For slave, public would be 229 and private would be 85, and for the slave 2, private would be 21. We're not using the public IPs of master, slave 1 and slave 2, but in case you want to ping them you can do that. So this is the public IP of the load balancer, and this is the private IP of the jump box, and this is the public IP of the jump box. So now back to the instance, show you the security rules. Okay, so here, so on the master, this HTTP 80 port is used by load balancer for health checks. We are not using it for demonstration or communication. So this is the custom TCP rule 8080. This is the ID of slave 1 and this is the ID of slave 2. So the master can only communicate internally with the slaves, and this is for the SSH, and this is the IP of the jump box. So master SSH port is only open to the jump box, and this is the 8081 external port. It is open to the public. And similarly I'm going to show you the setup of the slave. So this is the slave 1. So slave 1, this is again HTTP 80 port. Please ignore that, we are not using that. So custom TCP rule, so the slave can only communicate to the master, as I showed you earlier. 172.30 is the 30 is the IP of the master, and SSH is only open to the jump box, and 8081 is open to the public. And we have the same setup for slave 2. uh, So 8080 port is only open to the master internally, SSH is open to only the jump box, and this is the 8081 port is open to public. So, and this is the jump box instance. So all of these have a public DNS assigned in case you want to SSH it from outside, but for this purpose, this demonstration, I'm only allowing SSH from the jump box. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how the AP system is working. So currently my system is running in AP mode, and I'm going to ping the load balancer. uh, Let me just show you the load balancer again. So here's my load balancer. The IP is 2096 US2 ELB. Here's the same IP. So I'm gonna do a get request on the load balancer, uh, on this key post a that is already there in the database. So let's see. So here's the reply from 85, and 85, as I told you earlier, is the slave 1. And then, so load balancer balances out the request on all three. So this one is from 130, 130 is the master, and 21, so this one is slave 2. So all the system is currently consistent, and they are returning the replies of the pings. So to demonstrate the AP system, uh, okay, just one more thing. Let's post a new value, and to show you when the system is operating in normal mode, what happens. So I'm gonna do a post B, that is another request after the post B, and I'm gonna enter the current time, maybe 17:23, and I do a post, and the post reply comes from 85. So 85 is, so the post request went to slave 1, and now all of the system should be consistent, and all of the masters and slaves should have this value. So I'm going to do a post on the post B key, and when I do a request, so the first reply comes from 85, that is the slave 1, and 130 also has this key. On 130 the master also has this key, and 21 the slave 2 also has this key. So in case I post to some other key xxx and I do a get, so everyone, all the system would reply to me saying that no value found for this key. So none of the systems have this key. So this is what happens when the system is operating in normal mode. We can also try one of the delete operations. Let's delete the post B request that we just posted to the load balancer. Since the system is operating in normal mode, even the slave and the masters would, if it goes to slave, it would forward it to master. Otherwise master can itself service that. So 85 is okay, so the delete request went to the slave 1, so slave would have posted it, forwarded it to the master. So now everyone should be consistent with this system. So post B shouldn't now uh, reply us with the availability. So it's not on 85, it's not on 130, and it's not on 21. So this is currently the system is working in normal mode. So next I'm going to show you when the system is partitioned. We partition one of the slaves. So let's partition this one. Here are the rules. So since our internal communication is all on port 8080, here's the IP of the master. I'm going to remove this port, this allowance, so it's gonna block the slave from any communication with the master. uh, okay, so I have blocked the slave 1. Now let's go ahead and do a get first uh, on the value. So right, so I'm getting a reply from 85, 130, and 21. So since these values are already there in the in the slaves and masters, so now let's go ahead and post a new value. uh, let's call it whatever, post 5555, and I do a post. So see, since the post request went to one of the slaves, it says post has been rejected because it's in partition. So AP mode doesn't allow a write operation on slave when it's in partition mode. So let's try once again. This time it's the request went to the master. So it should have been updated on the master and the slave 2, but not on slave 1. Uh, okay, so let's do a get operation on the post D key. So 85 is the slave 1, so it's, since it's in partition, uh, it doesn't have this key, but since our system is available and partition, uh, it says that it doesn't have this key, but it still replies. So other slave and the master have this key, so they're going to reply with this value. So we can also try one thing. Let's change the value of post C key that we were getting, and the latest value that I'm gonna do on post C is the current time. So let's see what happens here. Again this went to the same slave. Let's try one more time. Okay, so this one, it went to master, I guess, and it has been updated. So now when we go to get the post C key, so see, 21 is replying with the latest value, 85 is also replying with the latest value. So these were the master and the slaves, and 120, 130, 21 and 85. Yep, here. So 130 is the slave, one is 85. So master, just a second. So 130 is the master, it is replying with the latest 1747 key. 21 is also replying with the latest key 1747, but 85 is replying with the older key 1737. That was our old value, and even the version is old. So that is how we can show that the system is operating in AP mode and it is returning stale value. So now let's go ahead and turn on allow the communication on slave 1 again. Okay, so this one is the, I'm gonna add a new rule and I'm gonna allow it on the port 8080 custom, and I'm gonna provide the master's IP. Oops. 8080 custom IP /24. I'm gonna think it's not getting refreshed. Yep, okay, it's there. Okay, yeah, here it is. So we have now allowed it on the master, and I'm gonna add it here also on the 8080 port custom IP. And so yes, so now the communication should be back again, and we're gonna do the same. So see, the last time 85 uh, sent us a reply was tail. So now do a get on that. So see, 85 has been updated to the latest version, and similarly 130 and 21, all of them are returning the same value, that is 1747. So that is how we can, so this is how the system is working in AP mode, and when it comes back from partition, it gets updated. So in the next video I'm going to show you the system, it operates, what happens when it operates in the CP mode.